I used to think I'm a pretty good sleeper. I get into bed, I fall asleep reasonably quickly, and wake up after what felt like a solid 7 or 8 hours sleep. Sure, I relied on a cup of coffee to get going in the morning and sometimes hit a brutal afternoon slump, but I thought everything was normal. I was ticking the box on sleep duration, so I assumed that the quality was there. I was wrong, completely wrong. It all changed when I decided to get serious about tracking. As someone with a background in neuroscience and medicine, I believe in data. I started using a wearable tracker. For me, it was my Apple Watch. But it could be an Oura Ring or a Whoop, a Fitbit, anything that gives you that objective feedback. The first morning I saw my data, I was shocked. My sleep score was a dismal 64. I've been in bed for 7.5 hours, but my actual sleep time was a little over 6. I had woken up 12 separate times during the night, and my deep sleep was a pitiful 45 minutes. I looked at my phone and thought, this must be a bug. Something is not right. I had become so accustomed to feeling a certain level of tiredness that I actually accepted it as my baseline. I had no idea what truly rested actually feel like. This little device gave me a brutally honest look under the hood of my own health, and it completely rewired my approach to rest, energy and productivity. And in this video, I want to share with you why most of us are terrible judge of our own sleep and how a simple tracker like an Apple Watch can provide the feedback loop that you need to genuinely upgrade your life. This isn't just my personal experience, and it's actually a well-documented psychological and physiological phenomenon. Humans are a notoriously subjective species. In a 2020 study, they found that most adults consistently overestimate their total sleep time and underestimate, firstly, how long it takes them to fall asleep, and secondly, how often they wake up. On average, people overestimate their sleep time by as much as 45 minutes. Think about that. You might think that you're getting a solid 8 hours, but in reality, it's much closer to 7, fragmented by micro awakenings you don't even remember. This creates a false sense of security. You're walking around thinking you're doing everything right, while your brain and body are actually running a consistent energy deficit. But here's the beautiful part. The research also shows that feedback works. A study collaboration between Stanford and Fitbit demonstrated that when people were given clear data on their sleep quality over a 4-week period, they naturally started to make better choices. They went to bed earlier, reduced screen time before bed, and reported significantly higher energy level and improved mood. The data itself become the catalyst for change. Why is this simple act of tracking so powerful? Let's break down a couple of mechanisms at play here. Number one is the scale effect. The subjective feeling of I slept okay is incredibly unreliable. When you see a concrete number, a sleep score of 64 or only 45 minutes of deep sleep, it creates a cognitive dissonance. It forces you to confront the reality that your habit might not be serving you. For me, seeing that I wake up 12 times a night was the jolt I needed. It moved me from a passive state of I'm a bit tired to an active state of problem solving. What's causing these awakenings? Is it caffeine? Is it my room temperature? Is it stress? The data gave me a starting point for real targeted experiments. Secondly, awareness of sleep architecture. Before I started tracking, my models of sleep was very one-dimensional. You're either asleep or you're awake. But sleep is a complex architecture with distinct vital stages. We have light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. Deep sleep is for physical restoration, tissue repair, and immune functions, and REM sleep is for memory consolidation, learning, and emotional processing. You can be in bed for 9 hours, but if your sleep is fragmented and you're not cycling properly through these stages, you're missing out on their unique benefits. You are living in a beautifully designed house, but only ever uses the hallway. My tracker showed me that my deep sleep was consistently low. This was a huge aha moment that explained why I never felt physically restored. even after a long night in bed. It made me realize that the intense late night workouts I was sometimes doing, a habit that I was proud of, were like elevating my core body temperature and cortisol levels too close to bedtime, sabotaging my deep sleep. Without this data, I would have never made that connection. Lastly is the accountability loop. There is a powerful psychological principle at play here, the Hawthorne effect. It states that people change their behavior when they know they're being observed. Your sleep tracker is the ultimate non-judgmental observer. Just knowing that my choices would be quantified in the next morning completely changed my evening decisions. That second coffee in the afternoon, I'd think twice because I knew I'd seen the impact in my sleep. Scrolling through my phone in bed, suddenly the temptation was much lower because I could literally see the correlation between late night screen time and the low REM sleep in my weekly report. It creates a game-like dynamic. I wanted to see the score go up and I wanted to beat my personal best for deep sleep. This gentle, constant accountability is what makes the habit stick. It's the same reason why a step counter makes you take the steps. The feedback loop reinforces the behavior. So, what did I actually change based on the data? My tracker gave me the clues, and my background in science gave me the framework to test the solutions. So here's a couple of things that I experimented with. Number 1 is strict restriction on caffeine. The data showed a clear link between post 2 p.m. coffee and restless sleep. Hence, I instituted a hard curfew. I would not have any caffeine past 10 a.m. My deep sleep score noticeably improved within days. And the second thing is temperature regulation. I noticed that when I make my room temperature much lower before I go to sleep, say for example setting the thermostat to 19 degrees or 20 degrees compared to 23, 24 degrees in the winter, the time it took me to actually fall asleep was much shorter. And lastly is a wind down ritual. My tracker showed that even if I was in bed by 11, if I was looking at my laptop, my sleep was shallow. Now I enforced a 30-minute screen-free window before I go to bed. And what do I do in those 30 minutes? Check back on my previous videos where I talk about brain dump journaling and completely switched off from work. And lastly is consistency, which I might expand on more in my future video showing you some actual experiments around consistency. The data I see from my sleep tracker showed me how powerful a consistent schedule is. When I don't sleep according to the usual time I sleep and wake up, my scores tanked. These results weren't an overnight miracle, but a gradual data-driven optimization. My sleep score moved from the 60s to the 80s and into the 90s. But more importantly, I felt the difference. Waking up become easier and my energy level throughout the day become much stable and predictable. The mental fog that I had accepted has completely been lifted. This 149 pounds device wasn't just a gadget. It was an investment in the most valuable resource I have, my energy. It gave me the objective feedback I need to action and stop those behaviors that were harming it. If you're going through life feeling perpetually drained, wondering if you could feel better, I highly encourage you to find a way to track and to get that data. You might be shocked by what you discover, but that shock is the first and most important step towards finally unlocking the deep, restorative sleep that your body needs. Sleep tight, and I will see you in the next video.